Hey FlossTube, welcome back. This is my 78th FlossTube video, and I'm excited to share with you what I've been working on the past 2 weeks. First of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you, and I hope that you would subscribe. If you are returning, thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for all of your likes and comments and for everything. I really enjoy hearing from you. It has been 2 weeks since I filmed. I decided I needed to take a week off last week, and I had some stuff to do around the house. So I have 2 weeks worth of stuff to share with you, and I'm excited to share what I've done with you this week. But first of all, I had a whole bunch of people who asked me questions and made comments that I want to respond to. So let's do that first. First of all, Lynn commented about my Amish Life. She stitched it when it first came out, and she stitched it together just like I am. And she pointed out that there is a little bit of an alignment problem between the second and third design, between visiting the neighbors and tending the garden. There is a white picket fence that runs between those two pieces, and I actually looked at this and saw what she was talking about. On one of the designs, it is actually 1 stitch higher. It's a stitch higher on the third design than it is on the second design. So thank you, Lynn, for pointing that out. I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to do. I'm either going to have to raise the fence 1 stitch on the second time design or drop it 1 stitch on the third, and I'll have to decide what I'm going to do when I get to that point. So thanks for that. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that in case any of you are planning on stitching it, starting it, and are planning on stitching it as one piece. Keep your eye out for that problem. Lulinka mentioned last week I talked about an iris design by the Silver Lining, which is by Mark Sastad. Lulinka told me that Mark is retiring, and he is clearing out all of his inventory. So I actually went to his website this morning. He is basically in business until April, and he is offering all of his charts at half off, so 50% off. So if you are interested in stitching any flowers, they are very realistic looking flowers. He has roses, tulips, irises. He has a whole bunch of different flowers, and I don't know what he has left in inventory, but if you are interested in stitching any of those and want a good deal, you might want to check out his website. I will put a link to his website down below so that you can check him out. Southernmost Stitcher asked me if I would ever consider backstitching as I go, or if I think that the diagonal method that I use would cause problems. And I actually did try it once you remember my village skaters that I had up here a month ago. When I was working on that piece took me like a couple of years to stitch, and I got to the point where I thought maybe for a change of pace I would start backstitching, because I knew there was going to be a lot of backstitching, and I thought maybe I'll start backstitching a little bit. And it felt so unnatural and strange to me that I didn't do it for very long. So it just, I don't think I will ever, I think I will always wait till the very end to do the backstitching, even if I have a lot. It's just the way that I prefer to work, I guess. Lisa asked me if I would share how I start and end my threads. I don't do anything really special. When I start, I either use the loop start, or if I can't use the loop start because of the number of threads I'm using, I use a diagonal pin stitch. And when I finish, I just pull my threads. I just pull the thread back through the already made stitches on the back. I think I need to do a Stitch With Me video, and I can show that sometime, maybe in the next couple of weeks. Things are going to really slow down around here, and I might have the opportunity to do that. Kathy asked me, how long are my park threads? Do I start one stitch and leave the thread until I'm ready to stitch with it again? So I probably stitch with longer threads than I should, and I generally use about 18-inch length of thread. And yeah, I will, when I start a new thread and I'm parking, I will stitch as much of that color as I can before I need to park it. So it may be a whole bunch of stitches, it may be 1 or 2 stitches before I park, and then I just park it in the location where I will need it the next time I need to stitch that color. Anne asked me what size of quantum frame I have. So I have 2 lengths of scroll bars. I have the 70 centimeter length, which is, and then I have the 90 centimeter length. At the time, the 90 centimeters was the widest scroll bars they made. I think they make wider scroll bars now. And then for the sidebars, I have all 3 lengths that they have. And I usually, I rarely use the longest length of sidebars. I usually use either the middle size or the smaller size, depending on how things work out when I put the fabric in the frame. Sometimes, just because of the way, it's hard to adjust the distance of your bars in the fabric, and so I usually just use the one that seems to work best with how my fabric is positioned in the scroll bars. Francine asked me if my daughter started a new design. I showed, last time I showed her finish with the Hampy Camper from Fat Quarter Shop. And no, my daughter isn't as obsessed with cross stitching as I am, first of all. And second of all, she is going to be leaving and not have a lot of time for stitching for quite a while, so she hasn't started a new design. So Teresa kind of pointed out something. Last time I said that I was never going to do a design with 3 strands again. And Teresa pointed out that the winter Quakers that I am stitching is also stitched with 3 strands. But it's a little bit different because those 3 strands are stitched as one. You don't separate the strands out. And that kind of makes it easier. The stitches look neater, and you don't have a problem of things basically crossing across each other and not looking as neat with those threads. So thanks for pointing that out, Teresa. Linda asked me if I also stitch diagonally on pieces that are not full coverage. And no, I don't. Basically, I consider diagonal stitching to be a technique that I use if it fits the design that I'm stitching, and that's usually mostly with full coverage designs. Anything else, I don't stitch. I don't stitch diagonally. I just stitch the motifs as they come. And finally, Melissa noticed that on my spreadsheets I have the Noah's Ark sampler by Teresa Wentzler, and she asked me what happened to that piece. So yes, I was stitching that, and I have it partly stitched. I guess I could pull it out and show you because I still have it, but I ended up having problems with the fabric that I was using. It was I don't remember where I got the fabric, but it's one of those fabrics that is kind of gauzy, and I really didn't enjoy stitching on it, especially with the over one stitching that is done in all the animals. I felt like I needed a more substantial fabric like Monaco to give it a little bit more support with all those single stitches. So I decided I was going to restart that at some time, and I've never restarted it. And quite frankly, I've kind of lost interest in that design, so I don't think I'll ever stitch it. At one time, when I first started stitching and I had young kids, I had this idea that I was going to stitch some kind of Noah's Ark piece for each of them, but that kind of fell by the wayside, and now they're a little bit too old for Noah's Ark, I think. So that's all my comments. Thank you so much, and I'm always glad to hear from you, and always look forward to being able to answer any questions that you have, anything that you want to ask me. So it's been a couple of a great week work-wise. This weekend is really busy for us. My daughter is flying to Mexico City next Tuesday, and so we have family here. My mother-in-law is visiting us. She is speaking in church my daughter is speaking in church on Sunday, and so we're excited for that. And then afterwards, we're going to have a family gathering here to kind of celebrate. And so we've got to get ready for that. On top of all of this, our anniversary is Tuesday also, so we are actually celebrating for our anniversary today. And I've also got to do some work on the sprinkler system in our backyard. So I've got a lot to do today, and I hope that this may or may not get posted today, but we'll see what happens. So we're really excited for my daughter. As I mentioned before, she's flying to Mexico City. She's going to be in Mexico City for training for a couple of months, and then she's going to be flying to Buenos Aires, Argentina. And she's really excited, and we're excited for her as well. So let's talk about what I've been working on. I've got two things to show you, two things that I've stitched since I last made a video. And when I made my last video, I said that I was going to work on this design, which is Saviours Praise. It's a design by Teresa Vanette of Shakespeare's Peddler, and this is a design that I have been working on for about a year, and I've really enjoyed working on it. I'll insert a picture of what this looked like the last time you saw it. The fabric that I'm using is 40 count Beach Brew, and I'm stitching with the called for threads, which are anchor threads with some weeks threads. And I've really enjoyed working on this, and I still am. And so I'll show you what it looks like now. So as I mentioned last time, I said that I hope to be able to finish the trees, and I finished all the trees with the birds on top, and then I started working on this house. There's this great big huge field of green that took a long time to stitch with a dog in the middle. And then I also got a chance to work on the house. The color of the house kind of blends into the fabric, so it's kind of hard to see right now. I'll give you a close-up view so that you can see what I've got so far. So this is what it looks like a little bit closer up. So yeah, all these trees were really fun to stitch, but I'm glad to have them done. And then I've got about half the house done. This looks like this is a path to the door. At first I thought this was a hill, but now I think it's just the front yard of the house. And we've got the path to the front door. There's this little dog right here that's kind of cute. We have the door, and I've got the first set of this side of the house stitched. So I just need to fill in the rest of the house and then do the roof, and it'll be finished. And then I need to finish the rest of this. This slopes down like this. I've ran into a slight problem that I'm going to have to kind of fudge a little bit. First of all, somewhere in these words, I made a mistake and there's an extra space with these words. So when I came across here, I was worried about making sure I had the right alignment. And so I thought I had this right. And then I got looking and things get off a little bit. And I couldn't figure out why this was off. And then I realized that somewhere back here, you have this regular border of a stitch, alternating stitches, but there's a place back in here that I didn't notice on the chart where there's 2 spaces between stitches instead of just 1. And so that's got me all, I'm afraid that when I come down here that this is not going to match up. And I'm going to have to fudge it a little bit. I think what I'll end up doing is I'll end up pulling this out a little bit and putting in 2 spaces here so that the edge lines up, that won't be a problem. That's a pretty easy fix. But this Teresa likes to throw. I've decided Teresa likes to throw in little irregularities like that, and I can't assume that everything is going to be okay because I always make mistakes when I do that. But there it is. So next time I plan on finishing the house, and then I need to pull this border up here and then work on this part of the border here. So I'm trying to get all of this done, and then I'll start filling in everything up here. But yeah, I think I've got about 3 or 4 weeks left of work on this. So I don't know if it'll get finished this year, but I don't have a goal to finish it this year. I'm just enjoying it as it comes. So there is A Saviour's Praise by Shakespeare's Peddler. So last week, when I finished stitching this, I decided to pull out the next design in my rotation, and that design is Queen Anne's Lace. This is a design by Marilyn Levitt Emblem of Lavender and Lace, and of course it's a picture of a lady in a beautiful yellow and blue dress with a little bit of background. And I've been working on this since last July. I started it last July. I'll show you a picture of it, what it looked like the last time that you saw it. This is a great piece. I love how it's turning out. So I am stitching this on the called for 36 count, I think it's Dirty Linen, and I'm using the called for colors. And this is what it looks like now. So I was able to do a couple more diagonals, and then last night when I finished, I could have started another diagonal, but I skipped all of the metallic threads that are in here. So last night I basically filled in all the metallic in those two diagonals. A camera is never going to do this justice because you're not going to be able to see the sparkle from the metallic. But it is really sparkly and looks really cool, and I'm excited to see more of the dress. So yeah, I stitched basically this to basically a 20 stitch wide diagonal all the way down to here. The corner of the piece is right about here, so I'm getting really close to finding the corner of this design, so that then I can start working straight up without my diagonals increasing in length. And there is Vatican gold metallic here, And in the blue and in the red is an antique, sorry, in the yellow is an antique gold. You can see here, I'm starting to get to the point where it's going to start moving in towards the bodice of the dress. You can kind of see that it's kind of starting to slope that way, and I think in the next couple of diagonals, that slope will become even more apparent. So we're up here, we're starting to finish the skirt and get close to the bodice. Her arm actually runs like this, so the next time I start this, I will actually see her hand, which will be exciting. I have to admit, this looks beautiful and I really love it, but the stitching is a little bit monotonous because you come in here, you stitch a little bit of background, which is some green and brown stuff, and then there's this little stretch of blue, and then you have to go through all of this yellow, and then you've got blue again. So every diagonal has been basically the same, and yellow is not my favorite color to work with anyway, and so it doesn't take long, but it just feels like kind of a slog to get through this. So yeah, so this is, I love how it's turning out. It's not my favorite piece to stitch, I guess is the way to put it. But hopefully that'll change. I'm starting to get into a little bit more of interest up here. Like I say, we're going to start seeing her arm and see more of the top of her skirt and possibly get into the bodice sometime. But yeah, no, I really like how this is turning out. So yeah, that's what I've been working on these past 2 weeks. Okay, so what am I going to stitch this week? I'm really excited for this week because I've gone through all of my pieces that have been stitched for a long time, and I've hit the 3 pieces that I started in December. So this is something that is more new and that I am excited to work on again. I'm going to be working on Winter Quakers by Rosewood Manor. And I've been itching to work on this. I'm looking forward to stitching some Quakers. Of course, I'll show you what this looks like so far. I started in the upper left corner, and I am using the called for fabric. This is Picture This Plus Dwarf, and I'm using the Valdani Threads. So this is what it looks like right now. I really love this color of fabric, and it's really a nice cool blue, and these look really good. So I've about finished the first page. This is about the first page. I've got a little bit more back stitching to do. There's like all these backstitch snowflakes all through here, so I need to do those, and then I'm going to move over onto the next page over. I think I'm going to move across this way and finish the top of the design before I move down to the next place. So yeah, I'm excited to put in more motifs. So that's what I'm going to be working on this week. We'll see how things go. So that's all that I have to share with you. I hope that you have a great week. As always, if you want to follow my daily progress, you can follow me on Instagram. I am at blitstitch on Instagram. As always, feel free to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And feel free to like this video if you like it. And I always enjoy hearing from you, so feel free to comment. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer any questions that you have. As I said, this is kind of an exciting week for us. I didn't mention my son is flying down from Utah today. So that's another thing, we've got to go pick him up at the airport. So we're going to have the whole family together before my daughter leaves, and it's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to that. I hope that your week is great, and look forward to talking to you in the future. As always, have a great week, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.